Unjani Baba?
Ngiyaphila baba.
All right, siyabonga. Yeah, yeah, good. Thank you. That's South Africa. Let's check if we have anybody from from Lesotho. Lesotho. Anybody from Lesotho? Anybody
Hi.
from this? Hi,
Hi,
is
I'm
that how
from
you greet?
Lesotho.
Is that how you greet in Maseru?
Maseru mana re dumelang. Le
All
kae?
right. Lekai, thank you so much. Good to have you. Great to have you. Do we have anybody from the Kingdom of Iswatini? Iswatini, please.
Sanbonani, hello, my name is Zanele Kwabe. I'm from Eswatini.
Brilliant to have you. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Anybody from Mozambique? From Mozambique? Anyone from Mozambique? All right. We don't
Seems
have
I'm
anyone from
the
Mozambique.
only one from Mozambique here.
Bon dia, bon dia, bon dia. All right.
Bon dia, Tudush. Keep Charaki.
That's as much as I could say. Thank you, Komsta. All right. Let's see if we have anybody. Let's start going up. So let's go to to Namibia. Anybody from Namibia? Anybody from Namibia?
Should I be coming back for this one? Or Vera, please come in.
I should have wrote Namibia last.
Good morning.
Go. Good morning. Give us some Namibia greeting, please.
I mean, it's English. I don't really know what to say.
Oh, okay. No, that's fine. All right.
Ore,
Welcome.
Murinawa.
Thank you. All right. Anybody from Angola?
Mwazekele. Good morning and bon dia. My name is Ana Paula and I'm in Angola, Luanda. And Mwazekele is how we say bon dia in Kimbundu, which is the language here in this region.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And welcome to the training today. So let me have the countries actually in front of you so that we can be going through them properly so I don't leave anyone out. So let's go to, so we've done Angola. Let's go to Botswana. Anybody from Botswana here?
Yes. Dumelang. This is Mosara Sogwabe from Botswana, and I'm at the Parliament of Botswana under the SADC PF program.
Brilliant. Welcome. Thank you so much. Let's go to the Comoros. Anybody from the Comoros here? Anyone from the Comoros? All right, so we don't have anyone from the Comoros. We will check as time goes by. Let's go to Madagascar. Anybody from Madagascar?
Salamat Tupko. I'm from Madagascar.
Oh, good to speak to you. Welcome. Thank you so much. Good to have you.
Thank you.
Let's go. Thank you. Let's go to Malawi. Achimwene. Anybody from Malawi?
Hi, Mulibwanji.
Bueno
It's
Bwanji,
me,
Bueno
Gometan from
Bwanji.
Malawi. Yeah.
Excellent. I love the energy here. Let's go to Mauritius. Anybody from Mauritius? Do we have any representatives from Mauritius? Okay. All right. We don't have anybody from Mauritius. Let us go to, so we don't have Comoros, we don't have Mauritius. Anybody from Mauritius, Comoros, when you come through, please let us know. Let's go to the Seychelles. We'll be launching this framework in the Seychelles. So may I hear somebody from Seychelles here? The Seychelles. All right, so we don't have anybody from the Seychelles. All right, let's hear Tanzania. Habari, habari, habari. All right.
Mambo vipi?
Poa, 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 poa. Safi sana.
Dera, meet manager in Tanzania. Yes.
Wonderful. Good to have you. Good to have you. Let's hear somebody from the great Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe. Do we have any people from Zimbabwe? Muzuri say. Zuri say, anyone from Zimbabwe? Zuri say.
I can speak on behalf of them since I'm seeing there's no one here.
Oh, okay. Uribo Shaman.
Daganakisa, Mamuga say mese.
You always complicating things. I expected just to go and then you're saying something else. All right. All right. And then finally, my home country, the Zambian people. Mujibu Yepi. Anyone from Zambia here? Mulishani bonse mulibwanji. Zambia. Anyone from Zambia? Zikomo. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. So let's get into the program for today. Let me just allow me to share my screen quickly to show you what the agenda is for today, and then we will be we'll be commencing our training, right? So thank you. Welcome to this training. And as you've noticed from the emails that we have been sending to all of you, the overall aim of this training is to equip you to access, interpret, and also be able to validate the data that is within the dashboard that has been developed to help to monitor the SADC model law on ending child marriages and protecting girls already in marriages. This model law was developed with the leadership of SADC PF and has been around, I believe, since 2016. And we recently just developed a monitoring and evaluation framework for it. And we've now even built a system for tracking progress against the indicators that have been built. So this particular session is going to run for 3 hours. We've got 4 major focus points. So the first area will be focusing on equipping you on understanding the M&D framework itself and the indicator structure. We'll briefly show you that. And then after that, we are going to have, so I will be leading that first session. And then secondly, we are going to move and we start focusing on how to navigate through the dashboard itself. So we'll show you a few things that are in the dashboard and help you how you can get around it. And then the third session will now be focusing on how you understand that same dashboard and then how you're going to go about validating it. And then we'll open up for Q&A. So it's quite a loaded program. The idea is that we ensure that you have enough understanding of the content that is in the dashboard to equip you so that you can go further to help us to validate it. Now, why are we validating this dashboard? Basically, the data that is sitting in the dashboard right now has been mostly collated through desk review, through reviewing data that is just existing online by people that do not reside in the member states where this data is coming from. And so chances are that we probably are using old data, or we may have used, inaccurate data. So we want to make sure that before the dashboard gets publicized out to the rest of the world, that then we have validated this data and are sure that it's reliable. We also want to not only check reliability, but we also want acceptability. So in the spaces where we have presented this dashboard, there has been some pushback sometimes. And this is because the authorities or the custodians of this data may have not consented to the statistics and the data that we are presenting. And so we hope that through this process, you will go back to your member states and be able to consult the necessary custodians of the data and get them to validate it, or at least propose to us the data that we should be using in this particular dashboard. So that is the overall objective of this entire training, but each of the sessions has got its own individual objectives. We are very participatory in nature in the way that we facilitate. I will be your main facilitator together with a group of team members, as I mentioned, that are also helping us. Let me once again just show you the team members that are facilitating alongside me. And these will also be supporting you in your countries as we validate the data. So if you can see on your screen right now, there is a list of member states, and alongside those member states, there is a name. So for example, we have Kudzai, who he works for Plan Mozambique. He will be supporting Angola, and he's in the meeting today, and he will be helping me facilitate. We also have the Brave, who works for HIVOS, is the regional ML specialist for HIVOS. He will also be helping to facilitate the session. He'll be the one supporting Botswana and Comoros. We also have Meron, who is here. She works for UNFPA and not Plan International Zambia. Apologies for that. We will correct. Apologies for that. Actually, it's Marlon. It's not Meron. It's supposed to be Marlon. Apologies for that. Marlon works for Plan Zambia. He's the M&E manager for Plan. He's also supporting this process. We also have Jacob. Jacob will be supporting Eswatini. Jacob is the SADC M&E officer. I hope I'm getting the position right, but he will get a chance to correct it. But he's the M&E person that is working at SADC PF. Jacob is in the call. Apologies if I've mentioned your position wrongly. So he is also part of the core team. We also have Mr. Kapato, who works for Care International Zambia. He'll be supporting Lesotho, and he's in the core. I'm mentioning these names because these are the people that you will be going to in your member state to understand, or in case you miss anything that I've said here, these are the people that you follow through and follow up, and they'll be able to support you. Then we also have Meron from UNFPA, who is supporting Madagascar. Now, wherever you see Meron, there is a possibility that the name may actually change because UNFPA is supporting that particular country, and there will be a person that will be designated from UNFPA to support that process. So that's where you see Meron there. So Meron is supporting Madagascar. She's also supporting Mauritius, and UNFPA is also supporting South Africa. Furthermore, we have Susan. Susan works for UNICEF, and she is supporting Malawi. She's also in the core and helping us to facilitate this. As I'm mentioning you guys, I think it'll be just nice to wave or even show your face if you can, so that people can see you and can know you. That would be nice. So I've already mentioned Kudzai. I've mentioned Brave. Just wave Kudzai, Brave, wave, so people can see you. Meron, just wave. People can see you. Jacob. Yeah. And then we also have Annette, who is based in Tanzania. She's supporting the Seychelles. And then we have Kelvin, who's based in Zambia. He's the one supporting Zambia. He supports Plan. There you go. Great. Kelvin, if you can just wave. And then finally, we have Honorable Masimba, we call him. He's the one who's supporting Zimbabwe. He's out in Malawi right now for some work, but if he's in the call, Masimba, just raise your hand or show your face. All right, excellent. So this is the team that is supporting this process, and some of them are already in that beautiful photo that you can see right in front of you. All right, great. So let's get into the first session that we have prepared for you today. And as mentioned, I will be leading that particular session today. So session number 1, right? Great. So And before I go through this session, just to check a show of hands, how many of you have at this stage interacted with the dashboard that we sent when we sent the email? You've managed to open it. Just lift your hand, just a show of hands, if you've managed to interact with the dashboard so far. Just a show of hands. You can raise your hands just to see if you've managed to click and open the dashboard. May I also just check that I'm audible? All of you can hear me. May I just check that I'm audible?
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. All right. So let's
Yeah,
go on. So yes. So as introduced earlier, my name is Bevis Capasso, and I serve as regional M&D specialist for Plan International. And I'm excited to be leading this session that is focused on the MEL framework. And so the purpose of this session is really, as mentioned, to enlighten you on the architecture of the MEL framework, the Monitoring, Evaluation, Research, and Learning framework that has been developed to track the SADC model law on eradicating child marriage and protecting children already in marriage. All right. So in this session, I'll be able to show you what the MEL framework looks like and the thinking around it. All right. Feel free at any point to stop me if you have any questions, but I'll also be pausing to ask some questions. But before I go any further, I do see a hand lifted. I do see Anna, you've lifted your hand there. Is that a question? Is that a comment? Please feel free to go ahead before I go deep into the conversation.
No, thank you. I was just lifting my hand because to say that I opened the dashboard, actually.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just to see, you are among the few. So I hope that by the end of this session, you will be oriented to it. Thank you for that. All right. So I hope the translation is going well. If you have any issues with translation, please just message Jacob directly here and he will help you resolve that. All right. We apologize if not all the material is translated at this stage. We will translate the material as well. But I trust that the translation is going to help as you go further. All right. So what you see on your screen right now is the front page of the SADC model law on ending child marriages and protecting children that are already in marriages. I've also put a link, and you will receive all these presentations to the different resource materials that you need associated with the SADC model law. The objective of the model law is simply to support member states to develop legislations that are going to be supportive, or that are supportive towards eradicating child marriages and protecting children in marriages. That's the overall, in simplest form, objective of the SADC model law. So we noticed that across the region, there were different laws that were existing, and some of them were actually having a lot of loopholes. And these loopholes, and some even still have loopholes that make it very easy for our children to be married off. Furthermore, when children are married and they have to stay in that marriage for reasons that cannot be for reasons that maybe cannot be easily dealt with, those children are not protected in those marriages. Their rights are not upheld. And so the model law provides a framework, a program framework of how programming can be done to eradicate child marriages and to protect children. And so the framework, therefore, has three main dimensions, in fact, 4 dimensions. So the framework has got a prevention dimension. And this prevention dimension is focused on how children can be protected to prevent child marriage before it happens. And this is done through education, empowerment, and positive social norms and life skills and community engagement. So you will notice that the model law has a section around legal frameworks and legal around policies, but also around programming that promotes education, empowerment, and promotion of positive social norms, and how to eradicate social norms or actually transform our social norms to be more promote safeguarding and protecting of our girls specifically, and now even our young boys are also somewhat becoming victims of child marriages. So this is the one arm of the SADC model law. You will notice therefore that even the way we have designed the results frameworks and the M&E framework is that we have indicators that are tracking the work on prevention. Right. Pardon me if you hear children in the background. I am sitting in a space where it's a shared space, so apologies for that. But I hope that you can hear me clearly. The second arm is around protection, which is focusing on ensuring that the protection and well-being of children at risk and those already in marriages and survivors of child marriages are protected through integrated services and support systems. So here we're looking at the health, legal resource, psychosocial support, and safety and protection mechanisms in the member states. So this is well articulated in the SADC model law. It provides, again, legislation around protection, but also provides model programming around creating holistic and one-stop centers that are able to provide protection mechanisms, efficient and effective protection mechanisms. And the third arm of the model law is around the actual legal frameworks and the enforcement. These are model legislations that have been that statutes and laws and even policies that have been promoted or at least articulated clearly in the SADC model law to strengthen laws, policies, and enforcement mechanisms that prohibit child marriages and ensure justice and readiness for affected children. So the SADC model law promotes strong laws and policies. It promotes effective enforcement, accountability. It also promotes inclusivity and sustainability and a healthy environment that then promotes a much more robust and holistic approach and an integrated regional approach to ending child marriages through legal frameworks. So, for example, the legal age of marriage has been well articulated in the model law, and most member states have adopted 18 as the legal age of marriage. And so that's an example of how a considered effort at the regional level can then, promote change in our legislation at national level and then promote the change that we need. This is all with the overall vision of eradicating child marriages and protecting children already in marriages. Now, the third arm of the model law, the fourth arm of the model law is promoting monitoring and accountability. And this is articulated in the sense that it envisages an established and robust monitoring and evaluation accountability mechanism that can track progress and ensure transparency and ensure that there is accountability towards these desired results. Now, when the model law was developed in 2016, what you will notice is that this particular fourth arm was absent. And so not only until a few years ago, probably in 2022, if I'm not mistaken, that is when this technical working group was created and work began to develop and strengthen this fourth arm. So the essence of today's presentation is going to focus on what we have done around this fourth arm. What have we developed in terms of mechanisms for robust data collection, monitoring, evaluation, and articulating this change that has been already included in the model law. All right. So overall, the model law, as you know, is child-centered, it's rights-based, it's gender-responsive, it is inclusive, and overall, it champions evidence-based decision-making. So this is the architecture of the model law, if I were to simplify it. All right. Great. I will stop for questions at some point, but if you have any question, feel free to stop me and ask. I'll be more than willing to take your question. Otherwise, I'll provide space as mentioned. All right. So this fourth arm that I've just articulated, we started the process of building this fourth arm. And my co-facilitators, please let me know in case somebody has a comment or a question. Thank you. So the fourth arm, this is what we have now built. So this is a MEL framework and structure. So we have developed now a comprehensive and an integrated adaptive MEL system that helps us generate evidence in real time and can help us also promote evidence-based decision making. All right. So this MEL framework that has been developed has got 4 main components. The first component is a theory of change and a narrative. So we have articulated how change in the area of prevention, protection, and legal frameworks will be attained. As I mentioned, these 3 arms are the programmatic aspects of the model law, and the 4th aspect is the means for monitoring and tracking progress against those 3. And so in building this, we have articulated a theory of change. This explains how prevention, protection, and legal frameworks, the aspired changes will be achieved all the way from the impact itself, back from the goal statement itself to the impact and describing the desirable outcomes that are needed in order for us to achieve our impact, and looking at the different core outputs or core intervention areas that will then drive the change that we are looking at. We even articulated some assumptions, some risks, and some core impact drivers. So all that is articulated in the narrative around the theory of change, and that will be shared. So in this meeting, I will quickly run through what a theory of change looks like. But they are also Word documents that have been prepared that you can use. The second aspect that we built in the MEL framework is an indicator matrix and a monitoring evaluation plan. And this is now taking the theory of change, deciding against those results, what indicators we are going to prioritize to measure. Now, let me make it clear that the monitoring evaluation frameworks have, on average, about 10 to 15, 14 indicators. However, we have picked about 7 indicators, in fact, 5 indicators on the legal frameworks and on the legal frameworks area, and then about 7 on prevention, and then there are 10 on protection. And these are our core indicators that we are focusing on tracking. But the others are also good to have, because we also see this framework as an opportunity to influence the way that programmers at country level are thinking around child marriages. So it's not only a framework for SADC, but can also be utilized when you are building a project on ending child marriages. You can pick these indicator metrics and you can use it. So we'll make all these available. So that is what I will show you. I'll show you the core indicators in this meeting. And then furthermore, we have now built a digital dashboard. So we've gone further than just building these lists of indicators. We've built a system where you can actually click on these indicators and be able to see the data that is currently obtaining in each member state on each of these indicators, so that should you be in parliament and you are debating a matter in relation to child marriages, at the click of the finger, you can actually check on your phone and be able to say that as we are speaking right now, this country has no budget in relation to ending child marriages. And we are saying that, you know, we are committed to ending child marriages, and you can argue and debate. You can pick an indicator that shows the number of children that have been married off in your member state at that particular time. So that is what we will also be sharing in this meeting. And then finally, we have also developed what are called minimum standards that define what does quality programming look like around child marriages. We will not touch this 4th area, but we'll make it available to you as a resource. So this is what the MEL framework includes that we have built over the last year and a half with the working group. Our overall goal is to build a robust mail system that drives results and ensures accountability and informs decision-making, evidence-based decision-making. We want to be evidence-based, we want to be accountable, we want to be adaptive, we want to be inclusive and sustainable. Who is involved in this process? So as you've seen, there is a SADC mail team, there is member states, there is CSOs, there's implementing partners, UN agencies, donors. It is really a village coming together to do this work. And the part that we have achieved so far has been fed in by all of you that are here in some way or another, but there is another part that you also will contribute as we look at validation and adoption of these results framework. All right. So let me stop right here and just take you now to the next part, which is the theory of change and the core indicators. All right. The theory of change and the core indicators. Give me a break. Oh, thank you. So let's look at the theory of change. So I'm going to look at each of those arms that we looked at from prevention. There's from prevention, protection, and legal frameworks. I'll present each of the theory of change, and we will then discuss what they look like. All right. So just in simplicity, a theory of change is just the theory that the way that we envisage change will happen. And the core indicators are looking at the high level parameters that we have picked that will help us measure this change. All right. Now, this is the theory of change on legal frameworks. So the overall goal around legal frameworks is that by 2030, member states will have fully domesticated and enforced the SADC model law, creating an enabling legal and social environment to eradicate child marriages and protect children at risk of marriage and those already in marriage, including survivors. So the overall ambition of this area or goal area on legal frameworks is really that the SADC model law, all those good examples of laws that have been listed in the model law are domesticated by all member states, but not only domesticated, but they are also enforced, and that there is an enabling environment that then enables us to eradicate child marriages. The overall impact that we are hoping to see, and this remains consistent across all three program periods, is that we want to eradicate child marriages and safeguard the rights and well-being of children at risk of marriages, those already in marriages, and survivors. So basically, the overall ambition of the model law is to eradicate child marriages. And so the impact for us, what impact looks like, is really that there is complete eradication of child marriages. But also we are aware that even at the point that child marriages completely are eradicated, there will be those children that may still be in marriages. Their rights need to be safeguarded. There will still be those children that may be at risk of entering a child marriage. They need to be safeguarded. And there will be those that would have survived, would have left child marriages. What happens to them? And the way that because they will leave, we know what happens when they leave these child marriages. They may leave with children already. What happens to the children of the children that have survived child marriages? So impact for us looks at that bigger picture. All right. In terms of outcomes, we've got three main outcomes. The first outcome is around domestication, which is that SADC member states domesticate the model law for preventing child marriages. All right. The second outcome is around financing, that governments are allocating adequate resources across relevant ministries to promote comprehensive support to child marriage programming. And then the third one is that SADC member states establish reporting and accountability mechanisms to promote implementation of all the programming around child marriages, but specifically the initiatives around the SADC model law. These are the main three outcomes that we are focusing on, and you will see that the dashboard and the mail framework indicators are built around these three outcomes and consequently that impact. All right. And then the outputs, these are the four main program drivers that we think can help us get to here. And the first one is around that there is a mobilized a group of stakeholders that support legal reforms for the domestication and harmonization of existing traditional civil laws and policies with SADC model law on ending child marriages. So just really that there is an established member states mobilized, and there is an established stakeholder engagement in the countries, in the member states that are pushing for legal reforms. Right. The second one is around that member states establish coordinated mechanisms across the different arms of governance that then formulate laws, enforce laws. We know that in member states, you'll find that there's maybe one arm of government that's championing this, but we know that for child marriages to be effectively addressed, we need the work of the legislatures, the work of the judiciary, and the work of the executive, all coming together with one agenda and are coordinated. So, we are looking to see that level of programming. The fourth one is around actual planning and budgeting. And the fourth one is that there is functional reporting mechanisms. So this is the overall theory of change that we have. Some assumptions being made there, as you can see there. I'll not go deeper into them, but a few of them are just like, for example, that there is political will to align the national laws with the SADC model law. That member states are not throwing the SADC model law completely out of the picture, that there is an uptake of it, and of course there are other things like legal systems. Member states are flexible enough that there is opportunity for discussions around harmonization. So these are the assumptions that are being made. Let me stop here to just check in if there are any comments from my colleagues that helped us to develop this particular framework. Masimba, any of my colleagues, is there anything you want to emphasize here? Or is it clear? Is anybody finding this completely confusing? I know the slide is loaded, but I hope that my conversation with you helps to put all of it into one perspective. Any comments, colleagues? All right. If there is no comment, I assume it's clear. Thank you. Let me go further in the interest of time. So as I mentioned, so under each of these result statements, we developed indicators. Now, I'm not going to show you all the indicators that are being monitored across these, because we are not tracking all of them in the dashboard, but we have them and you can track them in your member state. So the next slide I'm about to show you is picking the 5 most important indicators that we selected across for tracking on legal frameworks. Now, these indicators, this framework is loaded. We have the result statement, which I read. So the result statements are the same as what you saw earlier here. So therefore, these result statements here have been just repeated. And then the indicator statement is what's new here. This refers to the indicator that we're actually measuring. And the code just tells us where this indicator is coming from. The frequency of measure tells us how often this data will be available so that we can update the system. And then there is an indicator definition there, which in your free time you can read. So let's start with the first one. The impact, which is we are focusing on eradicating child marriages and safeguarding the rights and the well-being of children at risk of marriage. Here, with impact on legal reforms and legal frameworks, we are tracking the proportion of women aged 20 to 24 who are married or in a union before age 18. This indicator is an SDG indicator. It's already being tracked in each of your member states. So it's looking at the percentage of women between the age of 20 to 24 who were first married at 18. So as you know, this gets collected through the UN supported mechanisms and through DHS in your countries. and maybe at some point I'll invite one of our colleagues from UNICEF just to talk a little bit about this indicator when we get to discussing the actual indicators in the framework. So that is the indicator we are tracking then. The second indicator on outcomes. So on impact, we only have one indicator on legal frameworks. On outcome, we are tracking number of countries with national action plans to end child marriages. So we just want to be able to see, out of our member states, how many member states have a national action plan to end child marriages? Now, remember, national action plans are updated sometimes every 5 years. Most countries will have 7 years national development plans, but some member states even do this annually. So whichever national action plan that you have, we want to make sure that this national plan, there is a national plan of action to end child marriages. This is an indicator that is collected through UNICEF and UNFPA and also through the UN campaign. So it aligns with both frameworks and is collected annually. Now, depending on how often the action plan is updated at member states, so some of the member states have said it's annually, some it fluctuates. All right. Then there's number of advocacy campaign engaging government and civil society to end child marriages. This is tracked by UNICEF. And there's also a number of countries with multi-sectoral approaches to ending child marriages. Again, it's tracked by UNICEF and UNFPA through the global program. This is indicator 3.2. 3.2. It's done biannually. So yes, it's done. It's a biannual indicator. And then final, the last two, very important, is number of countries with budget allocations. And then the other one is number of member states that report a child marriage or on child marriage indicators on their national monitoring and evaluation frameworks. So these are the indicators that we are measuring on child marriages in regards to the legal framework and alignment. So I'm about to open up a question here for interaction. I want you to take just 30 seconds to look at the screen. Because I'm going to ask you a question and I will not make progress until I get an answer from somebody on the call. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Look at the screen very carefully. And then I'm going to ask a question. Just look at the screen very carefully. Make sure at least you can remember something here. Otherwise, there'll be no progress. If we don't finish the session, you will be to blame. All right, great. Let's go. All right. So here is a question. Mention the 3 outcomes on legal frameworks. Mention the 3 outcomes. Now, I don't expect you to mention them word for word, but at least tell me what are the focus areas on outcomes for legal frameworks. Anybody who remembers from what I've been speaking over the last 10 minutes? I pause right there.
Davis, there's a hand
something
from Anna.
on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Please go ahead. Anna, go ahead.
One of the outcomes is the number of countries that have national action plans.
National action plans. Excellent. So around planning and having, it's actually an indicator here, which is number of countries that have national action plans. And the outcome is that SADC member states demonstrate improved accountability in implementing. So one of the aspects that demonstrates that they are accountable is that they actually have a national action plan. All right. So great. Thank you so much. Brilliant. Any other hand?
Excuse me, I don't know where to raise a hand on my thing. I cannot see it, but I wanted to talk about the one that talks about the domestication of the SADC model law.
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, I said that one of them is about the countries who able to domesticate the SADC model law, about domestication and harmonization.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yes. So we do have this outcome here that then focuses on we want SADC member states to domesticate the model law. That is a very important aspect that we have, and we are measuring that by simply looking at number of countries with national action plans to end child marriages, but we are also monitoring actual domestication of the model law. So thank you for highlighting that. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Table Hall, please go ahead.
Well, the other one talks about improved accountability in implementing the SADC model law. So that's, I think it was the third outcome, if I recall.
Oh, excellent, excellent, excellent. So it is around improved accountability. Guys, apologies for calling you guys colleagues. I'm so happy that you are following through. And yes, you're absolutely right. So those are our three outcomes. So the first one is around domestication. The second one is around adequate resourcing. The fourth one is around accountability and monitoring. All right. Thank you so much. Great. With that mentioned, let's go to the second one on prevention. All right, so pay extra attention. Brave, please just take note of the people that are answering. We probably have a little gift for them at the end of the session. So please just take note of Anne, and we had Table Hall, and then we also had, I'm not sure who else spoke. I can see SG has joined us. SG, welcome to the call. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Brave has taken note of you. SG, welcome to the call. We are introducing the monitoring evaluation framework, and we are discussing the dashboard. Should you want to have any remarks, SG, at any point, feel free to stop me and go ahead and say hello to the people in case you have to drop off to other busy programs. Yeah, thank you so much. We recognize you.
And thank you for your usual commitment. I'm actually just having this as my bedtime story. I don't have much to say, but I'm excited at the passion already that's being demonstrated. All the best.
Thank you so much, SG. Good to have you, and thank you for all your support and enabling us to be able to work collaboratively in such a manner. Thank you. All right, so we are now looking at prevention. So prevention has got, so you will notice, as I mentioned, that the impact remains the same, but listen to the goal. So the goal is that by 2030, by the way, which is in a few years' time, we want to ensure that children at risk of child marriage receive comprehensive support to make informed decisions about their education and sexual and reproductive health, with a strong focus on prevention. So when we were building this framework, there was always a confusion among us between protection and prevention. And it was almost very difficult to separate them. And we quickly realized that they're actually inseparable. But for purposes of really explaining and helping us just to understand and be able to say, this is what we are doing in prevention, so we're doing in protection, even if they interlap, is that with prevention, we are more biased to children that are at risk. And that's where we are more biased to children that are at risk, and we are more biased to trying to prepare children to prevent child marriages from happening, but also to ensure that, as you will see from the outcomes, that the wider society that they are existing in does not promote norms and systems and practices that continue to make these young girls and these children to remain at risk. So the impact still remains. We want child marriages completely eradicated, and also that, children's rights are safeguarded, particularly those that may end up being in a child marriage or those that have survived child marriages. So the outcomes, therefore, are that children in all their diversity have access to integrated protection services, including health, education, and life skills. Because we know that it is through these services that children are accessing information, they're accessing support, they're accessing care that helps them prevent child marriages. So we may be using the word protection there because it is these protection services that are actually providing these particular interventions. So when a child is feeling at risk before they can be introduced to a marriage, can they be able to go to a drop-in center and say, this is what's happening to me? And would they be safe there? Can we prevent child marriages from happening in such a way? All right, so that's what we mean then. The second outcome is children in all their diversity demonstrate enhanced SRHR knowledge, financial literacy, life skills, and education to prevent child marriages. So what we are simply saying in that outcome is that we want children to be knowledgeable of their sexual reproductive health and rights. We want children to also have basic financial literacy and life skills that provide them with the capacity and the competency to be able to prevent child marriages, or at least to have hope and aspiration that they can become more than being married. And particularly our young girls, as you know, marriage has always been sold as a viable economic option in our societies. And we want through this education and financial literacy that our young girls should not see marriage as an end in itself, but really to look at beyond their capabilities so that child marriages could be prevented. And then the third one is that community and reference groups, including boys and men, demonstrate positive shifts from harmful social norms and beliefs that promote child marriages. So our social norms here. All right. So those are the three outcomes that we are focusing on this particular focus area. And the outputs therefore there quickly are that there is strengthened coordination across health, education, and protection services and gender responsive services to protect children, that there is comprehensive formal and non-formal education that is age appropriate, that is focusing on sexual reproductive health and rights. Now, we've used the word CSE there because that's what is in the SADC model. Now, I know that in some of your member states, you are evolving from using the word CSE, but the essence is that we are providing comprehensive sexuality education in a formal and a non-formal settings to our children. The third one is around reference groups, traditional leaders. Our communities are challenging harmful norms. And that there is norm transformation in our societies. And then the last one is also around advocacy and building agents of change that are supporting prevention mechanisms. So this is the framework that we have proposed there. We have some few assumptions there, particularly around social norms and around member states implementing, for example, re-entry policies. Age-appropriate sexuality education is adopted, whatever you are calling it, but it should be existing in your curricula and adopted, that girls have safe and equitable access to education, life skills, and empowerment programs. So that is the overall framework there. Let me quickly run through there. And so in terms of indicators of measure, it's quite loaded. It's got some 7 indicators there that we have focused on. The first one is the same on impact. It's around actual monitoring the proportion of women that are getting married, SDG 5.3.1, that got married by age of 18. So the way this indicator works is that we look at women that are between the age of 20 and 24, and we ask them, when did you actually get married? As simple as that. And then we check how many of those got married before they were 18. And that tells us the status of child marriages in your countries. But we've also gone specific here. We've noticed that most of the member states are actually tracking prevalence of child marriages among girls and boys below 18 in the member states. So there is data being collected in your member states that looks at prevalence, actual prevalence of child marriages in the member states. In terms of outcomes, we are outcomes indicators. Outcome number one, we are monitoring proportion of girls and adolescents who participate in financial literacy, vocational training, or income generating activities. So this is an indicator that's being promoted by one of our partners called Girls Not Brides in their framework, and it has been popularized around the SADC member states. So quite a good indicator there. Dropout rates, attritional rates, dropout rates in terms of primary and secondary education. All of your member states do track this indicator through your ministries of education. So dropout rates of children from education, that's becomes an important indicator for us. The NEET rate basically is also very important. Proportion of adolescents and girls who have access to adolescent youth-friendly services. This is a UNFPA, World Health Organization indicator, but I also know that most of your ministries of health are also tracking access to adolescent youth-friendly services. And then we also have proportion of girls who have comprehensive sexuality and reproductive health knowledge. Again, quite a common indicator we've been tracking over the years across the SADC region, from the time that we were tracking, mostly focused on HIV through our PEPFAR programming, but also it has become a very important indicator across our ministries of health. And then finally, we also monitoring proportion of respondents, and this is a GPECM indicator. So proportion of respondents, community leaders, traditional and religious leaders willing to introduce sanctions if someone practices child marriages. So a very interesting indicator there that is also being monitored. All right. So again, look at the screen attentively. I'll be asking a question very soon just to see how much we're able to retain. All right, let's go. So mention at least 3 indicators on prevention. And you know the rule, I am not progressing until I get at least 3 answers. Mention at least 3 indicators on prevention.
Hi.
Yes, go for it.
Yes. One of the indicators is dropout rates for children in primary as well as secondary schools.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And why is that important for prevention? Why should we measure dropout rates? Doesn't have to be you, anybody can answer, but why is that an important indicator?
Yeah, it's
Hello?
an important indicator. Okay.
Please go ahead. Masarwa, please go ahead. Masarwa, you've lifted your hand. Please go ahead.
It tells us a lot of things. It can even challenge the quality of CSE that's being provided at schools, the extent of how well the knowledge was absorbed. It can tell us about child and adolescent sexual abuse in the community, existence of such. It tells us about the existence of the very social norms that we are trying to eradicate that are in our communities. It tells us about how not all the girls that go into schools actually do not complete education, so education interruption because of unplanned pregnancies. So it tells us a lot about the life of the vulnerabilities that girls live through in their lives that ultimately affects someone's future that they could have improved through education. I'll say that for now.
Brilliant. Yes, you see, just from one indicator, we can tell a lot in the area of prevention. And as you've said it, we know that when children are dropping off, particularly girls, there are some underlying causes. It could be that they're actually being married off. That's why they're not coming to school. It could be they've been impregnated. They could have been abused. They could have been preferred to stay home because maybe boys are the ones that, so all our social gender norms are also coming into play. So brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you for that. All right, I tell Ho as well, lift up his hand. Brev, may I nominate you as, my manager for the lifting up of hands, because I can't see everyone. So please, Brev, help me facilitate that. Brev or Annette, please check for me. But Teboho, let me hand over to you.
Well, earlier on, you had an indicator on the proportion of girls, I understand, aged between 10 to 24 who have comprehensive sexual and reproductive health knowledge. So basically, this talks about the clients who are empowered and informed enough to be able to make informed decisions whenever they are presented with such challenges such as early marriages. They can make the right decisions because the assumption is that they have been taught accordingly in their CSE sessions.
Brilliant,
try to be
brilliant. No, you've nailed it, my brother. You're trying to be very humble, but you've nailed it. Excellent there. That's it. That is an indicator we are tracking here on proportion of girls who have comprehensive sexuality knowledge and reproductive health. Thank you very much. All right. Brev or Annette, who else do we have? Please recognize the people.
Okay, all right. So we have. Okay, well, go on.
Oh, thank you so much. We also have an indicator that speaks to the proportion of adolescent girls who have access to adolescent-friendly sexual reproductive health services. And this indicator will definitely help us in terms of making sure that adolescent girls are able to access services without any fear of discrimination, and the services will be offered at their level, so it will be easier for them to go to the health centers to access health services.
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Any other that we need to recognize, colleagues?
May I
Yes,
please,
there was a
may I
hand
please
from
say
Bernard.
something?
Please go ahead.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, may I please say something which is not on the indicators, but it's a suggestion based on the impact or the issues that you actually raised. So allow me to actually state that the indicator framework that you have presented is a very well structured one. But I wanted to find out first on the frequency of measurement at impact level, which we have set at 5 years. Isn't it not too wide to then inform timely policy adjustment on the prevalence of child marriage among girls and boys below 18 in member states? So we're saying that we will then measure the frequency in 5 years. So I'm not sure if it's enough or if it's not too long to then inform timely policy adjustment. Then secondly, while the proxy indicators that we have on knowledge and access are strong, do they really fully capture actual behavioral change or the decision making, especially at household level?
Thank you. Technical team, anybody that wants to help respond to that, please go ahead.
Davis.
Go ahead, Brev. Thank you.
In fact, before the question from Panache, I was going to comment on the aspect of us obviously dealing with indicators that are already prescribed, but most importantly, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel. And we also, when you look at the cost of collecting data on these indicators, quite a lot. And so we relied more on indicators that are already being collected by either the UN agencies or the government or CSOs. And so when we were doing our shopping in terms of the indicators, we relied much more on that. And so I also understand the fact that obviously when you take too much time to actually measure a certain indicator, you also miss the opportunity to introduce some changes. However, I think to some extent, we are limited in terms of resources. And if the indicator is only collected after 5 years, we might need to stick to that and work with the resources that we possibly have at the moment. Bevis, I'll hand over back to you just in case there's another supplement to this.
Thank you, Brave. Thank you, Brave. And brilliant question. So of course, the immediate response is what Brave has said, that we are working with what is available in your member states. So the SDGs collected between 3 to 5 years. And so that's what you would have. However, that's the essence of this process and this mail framework. This is an opportunity for advocacy in your member states. And this is something you can bring up in your parliaments and be able to say, if we are really serious at bringing an end to child marriages, we must not wait to be capturing this data every 5 years. So I see SG has got her hand up, so let me recognize her quickly. SG, please go ahead.
Hi, Bevis. That was an excellent question that has been asked, and all the responses that have been given are quite relevant. I think what is very, very important is to appreciate that this dashboard is based on several ambitions and plans which have already been approved by our governments, influenced by regional norms, among others. And therefore, the dashboard should first of all serve as a self-assessment for countries, backed up by an opportunity for each country, even through the technical working group, to be able to comprehensively look at what is a gap. Further, give them an opportunity to look at how the existing policies could be strengthened, spanning from all the other core issues that you have looked at. Lastly, the benchmark should be able to mold and help our leadership of parliaments and the other stakeholders in ensuring that what we measure is what is reflected in what has already been agreed to, and therefore can indeed tell us whether or not we are moving towards the targets that have been set across the many norms and platforms. So it doesn't mean that the dashboard comes first, then the dashboard is going to dictate what needs to be done. The dashboard is gathering and collating information on investments, on agreements that have already been negotiated and agreed to. It is just to influence the delivery of what already exists. So I think that is foremost what we need to think of. But indeed, it is a concern to say what is the utility of this benchmark? Is it done in a sequence? Does it wait, or is it meant to progressively assist in ABCD? So thank you for that question.
Brilliant. Thank you, SG, for that addition, and we appreciate what you've just shared with us there. May I then move on to the last part? Then we'll come back for more Q&A. All right. So let's look at the last area, which is around protection. So in a similar manner, protection. Are you still able to see my screen? Just checking. Are you still able to see my screen?
Yes.
Brilliant, brilliant, excellent. So with regards to protection, just a second. So with protection, the goal really here then therefore is building on from what you've heard from prevention, is that here we're looking specifically at the health, the education, and the justice systems in the member states, that they are strengthened to deliver comprehensive protection and support to children at risk of marriage, those already in marriages, and survivors, ensuring they have access to essential services, and rights are defined, essential services and rights as defined by the border law. So that is really our overall goal, that these, especially three line ministries in our member states, whatever they are called, they are coordinated, strengthened, and they are providing protection and support to children at risk, those already in marriages, and ensuring that those that are surviving have access to essential services and rights as defined by the border law. All right, so the impact remains the same, but in terms of the outcomes, this is quite important. So we had 4 main outcomes. So the first one was focused on, and you will see in this one, we love to use the word children in all their diversity. The first one is that they have increased access to education and economic empowerment opportunities. So we recognize that this protection has to have a strong arm of economic empowerment for the children through education, particularly enabling them to achieve greater independence and stability, being fully aware that they are still children. So there is a very, very difficult line there to deal with, because, you know, on one hand, they can't be employed because they are children. But on the other hand, they need to start to build these skills, the survival skills, so that they are able to be empowered and withstand the kind of society that we live in. The second one is strengthened coordination mechanism and accessible gender responsive health services, accessible responsive services. So this is health, legal, social, psychosocial services. So again, I'm going to repeat, the focus is that there is a coordinated mechanism that enables our children to access health, legal, social protection, and psychosocial protection whenever they need it, when they are at risk, or even when they have survived child marriages, or even those that are already in marriage. Can they access health services? Can they access legal recourse? Can our services be friendly to still allow a child who is married to go and access protection if they need to? So it's very complex aspects, but that's what this is important. The third one is that children, again, at risk in all their diversity, and those already in marriages have awareness, and that we build their autonomy and improve protection from all forms of violence, exploitation, and abuse. All right. And then the third one as well is referring to the social norms are shifting, and beliefs are changing towards promoting an end to child marriages. So these are the 4 main outcomes that we thought would be important at this level to track. And in terms of interventions, as you can see, the first one is around improved formal and non-formal quality education, in terms of, and then the second one is around coordinated services, as already mentioned. The third one is around increased awareness and access to legal and social services for children. And then the fourth one is around support programs that build capacity of community reference groups. So parents, caregivers, traditional leaders. That is the framework. And then the indicators quickly. So this one had quite a number of indicators. So the first 4 that I want to share with you, of course, at impact level, we are still measuring child marriage itself, but you will notice that at impact level, we've got 2 other indicators. Number one, we are looking at the proportion of girls who remain unmarried. So this is now, it changes the discourse here. We are looking at how many girls remain unmarried before 18. And this gives us the opportunity to triangulate data. The second one is obviously measuring prevalence rate. So even if we are saying 5 years here, but we know that these statistics are also gathered in member states, some of them biannually and some of you even gathering them annually. So whenever the data is ready. And then outcome number 1, that's around financial, that's around access to protection services, health and education. We're looking at percentage increase in household income among families participating in economic empowerment programs. Right. So household income there. So take a look at those. And then the second one, the second list of them this is the last list, is that we are looking at transition rates. So the education aspect, transition rates from primary to secondary school and from lower to upper secondary school. We are also looking at proportion of schools integrating CSE into their curriculum with age-appropriate content. We're also looking at percentage of out-of-school children, especially girls, and marginalized children accessing formal and non-formal education. We're looking at percentage of parents and caregivers who express support for delaying marriage, so the aspect of reference groups and social change and social norm change. And then percentage reduction in cultural practices that are identified as contributing factors to child marriages. Now, this is an interesting indicator collected by the Global Program. They've developed a catalog of harmful practices in our member states that expose children or promote child marriages. And there has been consent by our relevant line ministries to either transform these social norms or eradicate them. And so this particular study checks how far are we towards meeting those milestones that have been set by our member states. And if you remember, we had those that attended our meeting in I think it was in Johannesburg, when we presented the statistics on this indicator. There were certain member states that were bringing up this is an issue. Who says that this practice is harmful? Well, the answer is it's not us. You in your countries define what these practices are. And there is a conversation around to what degree does this practice expose a child to child marriage, and that practice is then connoted as a potential promoter of child marriages, and then the indicator is measured. So it's going to be very interesting when you start to do your validation. And then of course the last one is around this proportion of boys and men who demonstrate positive attitudes towards girls and education. All right, I know I've run very quickly because I'm trying to also catch up on some time. So let me stop there and ask any form of reflection. So mention at least 3 indicators or any outcome areas on protection. Anything that you've picked out from there that you want to discuss. Again, Brev, help me to just monitor the screen, and whoever raises their hand, please, by all means, give them the right to speak. Thank you.
Okay, Anna, you have your hand up. You can go ahead and speak.
Well, one of the areas talks about school dropout rates by country. And for instance, in Angola, we do have an issue on this. And in the dashboard, actually, it appears as yellow, as we do have a low rate in terms of a higher rate, sorry, in terms of school dropout, and mostly in terms of transition, because we do have an engagement at primary level, but then when it comes for secondary level, we do have a very high school dropout. And this connects directly with child marriage, because when girls, particularly girls, leave school, here in Angola, in our context, is always very connected with girls staying at home because they need to support the family or because they get married.
Brilliant, brilliant. So you can see there, we are checking transition rates, and there's obviously a vicious cycle. The fewer girls who transition, the more we are going to have a bias in terms of women accessing economic opportunities. And, so the men continue to go through, and it is these same men that then go and marry the young girls and so on. So it's a vicious cycle. So this one angle to it is exactly what you have just said there. Thank you so much. Greg, over to you again.
Can I say something? I can't find where I can raise my hand. One
Please
of
go
the
ahead.
indicators, yes, one of the indicators is on the percentage of parents and caregivers who express support for delaying marriage until adulthood for girls and for boys, I think. Yes, yes. I think that's one of the indicators. So, but may I also be allowed to then also say that I find this indicator very crucial, as it also then directly captures the shifts in our social norms and at household level. Because if we want to delay child marriages, then we have to start with the parents and the caregivers, which is then critical in the actual marriage decisions that they eventually just make. So I think indicators like these ones are valuable because they move beyond the access that we always talk about to the beginning on reflecting underlying behavioral change. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Brilliant. Could not have been said better. And remember, it's also a qualitative indicator, even if it is quantified in terms of the way it's expressed, but it's really looking at expression of support. So really, really good and quite a complex indicator to measure. But thanks to the resources being done by the global program there, we can have that data. And Teboho, just to speak to your point, in fact, if you really look at the theory of change, you will notice that the outcomes are enabling us to get to the impact. So actually there was that relationship between the different levels of results in terms of if we have, if we enhance, if we get a coordinated mechanism, it will lead to that. If you get, different services working, yeah. So there is a relationship between these results. Of course, because this is not a project, it's a regional program. So there might not be easy causation literally, but it is more, that's why a theory of change was used, because all this is so interconnected. Thank you so much for that observation, Doc. Rev, back to you.
All right, please, we don't seem to have any hands.
All right, thank you.
I think you've already tackled the comment in the WhatsApp. So is there someone?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. No, actually, the comment was really meant to try and assist in response to the person who was asking on the 5-year period. So yeah. And then one of the things that I was looking at that kind of impressed me here was the proportion of adolescent girl. No, not this one. It was about the out of school. Like it was out of the out of school clients who receive formal and non-formal education. Because you find that in most cases, CSE is integrated into the school curriculum. But then the question then is these children who really get married, are they mostly school going or out of school? And in instances where you find that it's mostly out of school, the question then is, what are we doing for the out of school clients? Because in most cases, the moment they now are no longer in school, there is nothing to support them. So the fact that the indicator could actually to compel governments to start thinking around what to do for those. So basically, for me, that was quite a good indicator to include.
Thank you, Doctor. Good to have that comment. Appreciate it. Yes. Thank you so much. All right, colleagues. This brings us to the end of the first part of the session. And so at this point, I am going to invite you to just take a 1 minute water break, 1 or 2 minutes water break, take some water, stretch your legs, grab some water. We'll go into the next session now, then when we look at how do you actually navigate through the dashboard. And it will be led, by our colleague Kudzai. And of course, I'll be co-facilitating with him. So let me allow you, it's now 31 past 11, my time. So we'll start at 35 past 11. So you can just take a little bit of a break and then get back, join us. Thank you so much. Thank you for your participation so far. You don't have to log out. You can just step out of your seated stretch or anything like that. Kudzai, just checking, can you hear me?
Hi, Bevis. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me from your end?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I can hear you. All right, great. All right. Just to check people are back, just give us a thumbs up to just make sure everybody is back. Just raise your thumb, Hope you stretched and managed to exercise and so on. All right, so great. I see a couple people are back. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed that part. This part of the session, we are focusing now on looking at the dashboard itself. So those indicators you saw have now been put on a dashboard. And we will show you how to navigate through the dashboard. So Kudzai will quickly just run through some of the things that are within the dashboard and how you look at it. And then we will open the actual dashboard and start going through some of the data there within our given time. Whatever we do, Kudzai, let us ensure that at least at about 12:15 or 12:15, 12:20, we start the validation session and winding down. So we have at least about 40 minutes to do both the session around the framework itself and also show the dashboard itself. So about 40 to 45 minutes. Over to you, Kudzai. Thank you so much. Let's welcome Kudzai. I will introduce him. Kudzai is our monitoring and evaluation specialist who is managing our country program in Mozambique within Plan International. Welcome, Kudzai, and he's a part of the technical working group that has been helping to work and develop all this work at the end. So Kudzai, over to you. Take over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bevis, and I hope my internet connectivity will not let me down as it has been fluctuating and flip-flopping of late. So I'll be taking you through the session on navigating the dashboard. So like Bevis has indicated, we have our digital dashboard, which we designed in our Tableau software. And the good thing is that some, if not most of you, have actually managed to interact with the dashboard already. So maybe to start with, let me assure everyone that the dashboard was simplified for your use. So it's not in any way complicated, but very much easy to use. Bevis, I'm trying to move to my next slide, but struggling a bit. Maybe you could assist me, Bevis, because it's my first time using Zoom to make a presentation. Okay, it's now moving.
It's moving now. Excellent.
Great. So the objectives of this session is just for you to appreciate how then do you maneuver and navigate within the dashboard. How do you select filters, maybe per each member state? If you want to see data and statistics for your member state, how do you make the filters? How do you apply them? Then also see how do you interact with the charts, because as of now, In our current dashboard, we have different visualizations, including heat maps, traffic lights, also charts. So it's also for you to see how then are you going to be navigating through those things, and also extracting from the data that you are going to be having in your dashboard for member state. How then do you make use of that data? How do you interpret it, and how do you manage to make sure that you use that for your decision making? Right. So the dashboard, as you saw when Bevis was presenting, there are different indicators which are corresponding to various outcomes for our thematic areas. The thematic areas being the one for legal, the one for prevention, the one for protection. So firstly, we have our existing indicators at national level and regional level, which are aligning with our SGDs, our national and regional indicators, to ensure consistency and comparability. And this is also one of the reasons why it's important to validate our data in the dashboard, so that it's commensurate with actual data that is currently obtaining on the ground in a specific member state. In our dashboard also, that's where you see that we are going to collect our data and also make analysis of it to ensure that we don't only have data, but then how are we making use of that particular data so that at least we can improve our programming and policy making levels. So the data is on our Tableau software, but the good thing is that we also have an accessible platform within the mobile devices. I'm sure some of the colleagues who are here on the call, who were there in Joburg, you actually saw when Bevis was presenting that you could actually see the entire dashboard on your cell phones, and actually managing to maneuver through to see what data was there in that particular dashboard on your mobile device. Then we have various data sources. Already we have our architecture of our M&D indicators that you saw Bevis presenting. But also for now, we are making use of other various data sources, for example, UN sources, World Bank sources, which are actually manipulating and exploiting and making use of informing our data, as you will see as we do the validation exercise. Then definitely our data, we want to make sure that we use it for decision making. Not only are we supposed to be having it in the dashboard, but then how are we informing the policies and programs, and also resource allocation as a result of what we have in our dashboard. That's why you realize that it's going to be continuously updated each and every time. We have frequencies within which we are going to be reporting the data and updating the data in the dashboard, so that at least we know that we are up to date with the current trends of what is happening with the indicators. Then the visualization that you see in our current dashboard, like I've indicated, for now, we have maps, we have our traffic lights, we have charts. So those are the ones that we have at the moment, which are using as our visualizations. And you see when I show you the dashboard as to how those things look, and perhaps you can actually also provide suggestions as to how you think we can actually improve those visualizations as we go forward. So first of all, we have to answer the first two questions, which is what is data visualization and why is data visualization important? Because that is the backbone of what Tableau is as a software. So maybe just to contextualize Tableau, for those maybe who have not yet come across Tableau as a software. So Tableau is a data visualization software that connects easily to any data source. So in the meantime, we are manipulating and using Microsoft Excel for us to be ensuring that we take that data from that Excel, and then we put it into Tableau for us now to see where our data is looking. And Tableau also allows for instant insight for transforming data into interactive visualizations called dashboards, which we are going to see in a bit. The good thing about Tableau is that it connects our data to different databases, data sources, including even Google Sheets. It also connects to that. It lets you build charts and graphs visually, so that at least you can see how then best you can present your data in a very simplified way, which you can easily interpret. It combines multiple visuals into interactive dashboards. That's why you see that in the dashboards that we have at the moment, you can have maps and also charts on the same dashboard, maybe per each thematic area. So it can actually combine all those multiple visuals into one. It enables you to filter your data, perhaps maybe per each member state. If you're coming maybe from Angola or Zimbabwe, you can actually filter the data that corresponds to your country for each thematic area that you want to see the data for. So at least now it allows you to make use and make sense of your particular data for each particular member country. Even if you don't want to see other member states, you can just filter for your own member state. So data visualization, the visuals that we have in our dashboard, it's a process of describing information through our visuals, which you see in a bit, where we have all those things that I've been talking about the maps, about the charts, about the traffic lights. So that's how you can see how my data is looking. You just click on your member state, then you can actually see the parameters that you want to actually see for that particular visualization. So it's just an issue of turning our data into visual forms, like the charts, the graphs, the maps, the dashboards, so that at least you can make use and make sense of what your data is about, maybe in terms of the trends, the patterns, and the insights that are there in a particular visualization. So the reason why we do this is that it simplifies complex data, so that at least our data sets are easier to interpret and understand. Then it also shows you patterns and trends, like I've indicated, so that at least you can see, okay, what has been happening? Has there been any decrease? Has there been any changes? Has there been any relationships in terms of our data? It also supports our decision making, so that at least yourself, whilst you're looking at your data visualization, you can actually tell, okay, how then best can I improve my programming? What influencing mechanisms am I supposed to put in place, maybe with parliamentarians, based on the data that I have? And also, maybe perhaps from your own programming level or on your own, how then best can you improve? So at least those visualizations, they can actually give you a better perspective. Then it might actually makes the findings more clear to others. So perhaps maybe if you don't want to spend the whole day explaining to parliamentarians, for example, what the data is saying, you just give them that dashboard so that they can just visualize for themselves and on themselves to see, okay, where are we as a country? And if maybe they want to interrogate to say, okay, maybe this data doesn't correspond and it's not commensurate with what we have on the ground, at least they can actually tell and give their suggestions as to how then best we can, first of all, validate that data, then actually make it more accurate based on what they think is accurate for their member state. So, like I've indicated, for our current dashboard, which we have various visualizations that we have at the moment. First of all, we have heat maps, where you can actually see and click on your country, on your member state to see, okay, what is the data per each indicator that you want to see for each thematic area. So when you open the dashboard, as you will see, perhaps you see a red on a map. It might mean that maybe that parameter is still being absent from the country and not yet being implemented. When you see perhaps also in amber, maybe it's just still something that is being deliberated upon and also still being discussed for it, but not yet being passed at the moment. When you see a green, perhaps it would mean that that particular parameter has been passed. Maybe it's an issue of a member state's national action plan. Maybe it has already been passed, so you actually see a green on that. So it's almost the same again with the traffic light, where we have various colors that we have put, where you realize that again, similarly, a green will be showing that something, a parameter is already available and it's in existence. In amber is still under development and maybe being still discussed, but not yet being passed. Then a red showing that it's not yet present and it's just still absent in a member state. Then we also have charts. So these charts, the good thing is that at least the charts, I'm sure most of you are familiar with charts, perhaps be it bar graphs, pie charts, line charts, So these ones, they actually tell you that, okay, where are we in terms of maybe an indicator? How far have we gone with the indicator? What percentage are we at? And it can actually tell you, okay, what has been the pattern, for example, if it's maybe a line chart. Are we progressing maybe from last year? Are we supposed to be increasing or improving the way we are performing? So at least those charts, they'll actually tell you that how then can we compare and track and analyze that data over time. So the good thing is that these things, they are actually there for you to have some better insights, some clear visualizations, and also manage to just simplify the data for you to make sure that everything is clear. You can highlight your trends and also support your decision making. So I'm not sure if there are any questions before I go to show you the actual dashboard. I'm not sure, Bevis, perhaps you could assist me if you can see anyone who is raising their hand.
No problem. We don't have any hands as yet.
Okay. So as I'll be presenting the dashboard, please feel free to raise any questions if maybe there's something that you are not understanding. I'm not sure if you can see my screen, colleagues.
Yes, while your screen is loading, may I just mention that colleagues, the Tableau platform helps us in many ways because it's a flexible platform and can produce these visualizations. And as mentioned, we are using this validation exercise to also enrich the way we are visualizing data. So as you interact with this platform and as you take it to other spaces, should you get feedback or any ideas of how to better visualize, please feel free to relay to us. I'll show you again the names of the people in your member states that are supporting you, and we'll be very glad to improve it. Our vision is that by the time we are getting to Seychelles in July, we would even have even more enhanced dashboard that we are launching and showing to the rest of the world. Yeah, so thank you so much. I just thought it would be important to mention that. Back to you, Kudzai.
All right, thank you, Bevis. Right, so like I indicated, the dashboard is premised on the SADC model, law outcomes and indicators. And what we did was to ensure that all member states are included in that dashboard. And as Bevis presented before, we have those three overall thematic areas, which is the legal, prevention, and protection, with their corresponding indicators and outcomes. So as you will see, under each thematic area, we managed to put raw data based on what we are seeing on the same data sources, on some data sources, but this requires your validation to provide us with the actual or correct data, especially based on the official national data and statistics that you have for your various countries. So as you will see here, first of all, this is a visualization of under the legal thematic area. It's a visualization of a map. So this map is simply showing you that what is the minimum legal age per each particular country. So we had different perspectives during our initial designing of the dashboard, where some of the countries actually did not have a legal age of marriage. That's why you see that they're in red. Then these ones in amber, like I indicated, we during our researches we saw that they are still being deliberating. They're deliberating the legal age minimum, and they've not yet been passed. But then again, since we are going to be doing a validation exercise across all these various member states, at least we will now know that at which stage are they now at in terms of the legal age of marriage, so that at least we can now update our dashboard. These ones that you are seeing in green, already they've passed the minimum legal age of marriage. That's why you see that they're in green. So these colors now, like I indicated, they can now show you that when you just click on DRC Congo, for example, since it's in red, it will just show you that they have not yet passed the minimum legal age. But then after validating, we'll just know that, okay, how then best can we update this dashboard or this heat map? If maybe they have now past the minimum legal age, we can now put it to green and just update the dashboard. Then when we go to national action plans, for example, we have this chart where you can actually tell that, okay, this country already has a national action plan. Oh, these ones which are in yes, these ones in no, they don't have as yet national action plans for ending child marriage. So at least this chart now you can actually tell also again that if they are saying that they have actually introduce the national action plan and put it into implementation, when did they develop it and put it into implementation? So these things now, they actually give you a better visualization as to just simply clicking and knowing your member state and seeing all the data that you want to see. So as you can see here, Madagascar, yes, they have a national action plan. They introduced in 2018. Malawi, the same, yes, they do, introduced in 2017. Mauritius, unfortunately, they have not yet developed any national action plan. Mozambique, they have, which they introduced in 2016. So basically, that's what this chart will be telling you, just giving you all these dynamics and statistics as to if a parameter has been introduced or not, and which year did they introduce it into implementation. Then again, this is a heat map.
Kudzai, just one moment before you proceed. There is a hand from Anna, but before I even recognize Anna, I just wanted to also emphasize a key navigation trick, Kudzai, that we probably just need to also emphasize that if you go back up on the top of the tab, that is something that will help you to better enjoy. So the tab has got two ways which you can see the data. So you can see the data by thematic area. So when you click the way Kudzai is clicking legal, it brings all the indicators that are on legal framework that we have prioritized. So from minimum standard, national action plan, and all the others. However, if you want to see the visualization on its own. So for example, if we just want to see this visualization on minimum age for marriage, you can go further on the tab and just click on your right there. You can click on the tab for me, Kudzai, just on top there and click legal age for marriage. Just here, next, the next one after SRH. Now on top on the tab there, so there's SDG.
You are referring to the specific legal?
Yes, specific legal. So I want you to just go in the specific tab. No, below there. Yes, click there.
Yeah.
But use the tab on top, Kudzai. Just use the tab on top.
Because currently I'm actually in the legal.
I've seen that, but I want you to move out of there and navigate, go to the tab called legal age of marriage so that we only have one visualization.
Because I'm trying to see where the tab is.
No problem. Let me share my screen, Kudzai. Don't worry, I'll help you with that. Let me do it from my side, just so that we assist, because that's a very important aspect of your visualization, so that you are easily able to see or show at a time. So if you just allow me to share my screen. Kudzai, thank you so much. All right. So Anna will recognize you very soon. So when I am in the tab for legal age, as you can see there, you are able to see all the visualizations around all the visualizations that are related to legal frameworks. However, it can sometimes be overwhelming to see all of them all at once. And so in order for us to be able to maybe enjoy one visualization at a time, you can then go and click on top here, say legal age for marriage. So what then Tableau does for you, which is very nice, it only brings in that specific visualization. So assuming you are running a presentation and you want to be able to show one visualization at a time. Okay, so you can say, I am beginning with the legal framework. In the legal framework, we have minimum age for marriage, we have national action plan, we have prevention of ECM. And so these are the indicators that are here. However, I will start with the minimum age for marriage. And what Tableau will do is to bring you the specific visualization. So very important. And when that comes up, then you are able then to pick each member state and you're able to see the data that is coming through there. All right. And as Kudzai has mentioned, when you see red here, you need to interpret this to the participants that we're using a traffic light system here, where anything that's green means it's really good. There are no issues, there are no debates around it. But where there is red, it means that either the alignment to the aspiration in the model law to absolutely have 18 as the legal age for marriage is uncontested. And that is the legal age for marriage. So where you see red, it's either there is a recognition. For example, Zambia, maybe this will change and I'll hear what the team in Zambia will find out during their validation. But because Zambia recognizes both the customary law and the civil law, so the civil law completely outlaws marrying anyone by the age of 18. However, customary practices do marry off children below the age of 18. Now, the law, while it has said that only 18 years of age will be recognized as a marriage, under the customary setting, this is still contested. Because if in that particular area, what is applying is customary law, and the customary law does not categorically say that an 18-year-old cannot get married, it becomes hazy. Now, I know that recently there was a change in legislation, but there hasn't been harmonization between customary law and statutory law. So that remains a red area for us, and we've deliberately left it in red so that in your validation, you can go and debate this and conclude whether Zambia should still be in red or should then be moved to green. Similarly, there are some of them where it's still above 18, and those that are in green, in amber, are those where we know that the legal reforms have begun, and maybe the law is either in parliament or it is a bill, or there is a process that is almost approved. And so we've left it in amber for you to also conclusively debate. This is one of those where we've not rushed. We know we've heard some things, we've seen some things online, but would rather leave them for you to validate. All right. So I thought I should make that emphasis with regards to this particular indicator. Anna, you had your hand up before I hand over back to Kudzai.
Thank you, Bevis, and thank you, Kudzai, for this demonstration, being very helpful. But you already responded my question, Bevis, actually, because I was looking at Angola, which is in red, and actually the legal age of marriage in Angola is 18, but we do have an exception in the law that says that if parents authorize, then boys and girls can get married at the age of 16 and 15, respectfully. So yeah, thank you so much. This was my question, but now I understand why Angola is also in red.
Exactly. So thank you for that. So if you go back to what our impact is, if we have to eradicate child marriages, there must not be exceptions. Because if those exceptions exist, then it means that children are being married. And so we won't end child marriages. Yeah. Nomsikelelo. I hope I've said it correctly. Please comment, and then we can continue with the demonstration on legal reforms.
Okay, thanks, Beavis. No, you've just answered that there must not be any exceptions, because even in South Africa, our legal age is 18 years, but there are exceptions where you can have parental consent, particularly when it comes to the customary marriages. So yeah, I think you've answered, because I was asking myself, why is South Africa in red? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. And sorry to over-labor on this one, because it's the main one for legal, on legal reforms. Look at it this way. The reason children are being married off right now is because parents are consenting anyway. You know, they've never, the issue of consent of parents has never been the issue. They have been consenting to marrying off our children. So if the law permits them to consent, then we are practically doing nothing. And our children will continue being married off. So this is where the politics of M&D come in, where our data deliberately shows red to walk into a room to provoke that debate. And be able to say the reason South Africa is in red is because we have exceptions. And so in your validation, do not be quick to give in to want to shift this, because at the end of the day, you still find me and the team debating you. If you come back and you tell us, no, the country says turn it to green because the legal age is 18, we'll still ask you, does that exception still exist? And if that exception still exists, our M&D politics will say it is still a red. Go deal with that exception and find a way to ensure that our children, there's no loophole for them to be married. Absolutely. So that's really what this dashboard is doing. All right. Kudzai, over back to you.
All right, Bevis. Should I reshare my screen, or I can even just utilize your screen?
No problem. Yeah, I can navigate for you.
All right. Yeah, perhaps you could go to protection, because maybe first of all, starting with the entire dashboard for protection before we go to the different indicators. Yeah, so I'm sure the remaining thematic areas are just almost the same as the legal, and with exactly what you have said, Bevis, you have clearly explained that there are a lot of discussions and deliberations which are supposed to go into play before we even update this dashboard, because yes, the sources might vary, but it's important that when the colleagues now do the validations, at least they understand the nature of the discussion that they're supposed to be having. So like, for example, here in protection, you can see these traffic lights that, yes, of course, we can talk about school dropout rates, maybe for Angola to say, in 2016, it was 18. In 2023, now they are on 14. There's been a reduction. So that's why you are seeing this amber to say that at least there's that progression that we are seeing in terms of dropout rates. The same again for Botswana, which is already in green from 6% to 4%. There's that progression. So these traffic lights, like I indicated before, they were informed by what we are finding on various sources, especially online. So that is then why when you start to validate this data, there are some, these are some of the discussions that you have to be having even before we update these dashboards and traffic lights, so that at least we know exactly what is currently obtaining on the ground and what are the actual statistics based on the national data that we have per each member state. Perhaps maybe Bevis, since already protection and prevention, we have these traffic lights and charts, maybe an issue would be perhaps to discuss on these indicators if maybe the colleagues on this call actually agree with these statistics, or maybe they will just discuss as they go to their validation exercises.
Thank you, Kudzai, for that. Also, perhaps as you rightly said, we would like to already hear some comments here. But a few disclaimers we need to make is that we pitched it at 2023 simply because that was the most recent data that most of the countries had online with regards to drop-off rates as of the time that we inputted data. We would love your validation to come back to us with 2025 data at least, 2025 data, so that then we can show what the most recent data is. So one of your activities with this particular information is to give us the most recent year for these indicators. So this does not just apply to protection, but it applies to all the other indicators. Now, there are 2 years here. So if I go into, this is school dropout rates. So school dropout rates as an example here. So with school dropout rates, you can see that we use 2016 as the benchmark. 2016 because that is when the model law was put into force, and so you can see the countries that are below. So there is actually the indicator definition on this particular indicator is what is guiding the traffic light system. So you will notice that the indicator, particularly on dropout rates around protection, I just want to read for you quickly here so that I can be correct for you. So it's looking at, so the indicator is looking at, of course, a percentage of children that discontinue formal education by marital status. So number of children who discontinue educational status and is disaggregated by marital status. But then what we did here is that anything below 10%, anything below 10% as at 2023 was marked green. And then anything below 50%, below 30%, sorry, was marked as amber. And anything that is, so anything below 20% was marked as amber, and anything above 20% is marked red. This is informed by the UNESCO framework of education and dropout rates. So the UNESCO framework of education and dropout rates informed this. So anything below 10% is green. Anything between 11 and 19% is going to be amber, and anything that is above, that's 20% and above, will be red. So all the countries that you see in red here are the ones that have a dropout rate of at least 20%. And the countries as of 2023 were Madagascar and Mozambique. So in your validation, you will then even push it to look at what does 2025 look like, or 2024 look like, whatever your most recent statistics are. And then you will then be able to give us those numbers through the email person that has been designated to your country, and will be able to affirm that statistic. Are there any reactions at this point to just this dropout rate at this stage? All right, we seem to be okay. All right, let's look at still on protection. Let's just look at another indicator there. All right. So coupled with that heat map, there is a statistic on proportion of women who were married or in a union before the age of 15 and before the age of 18. This is SDG 5.3.1. Let's look at this one. SDG 5.3.1. So on this SDG, as you can see here, So with this SDG, if you look at it in terms of, we only had 3 countries that were below 10%. Only 3 countries were below 10%. Sorry, about actually 5, not 3. So we've got Botswana, Eswatini, Mauritius, Namibia, Seychelles, South Africa. All right. And now you can see how that particular amber red on the heat map is very important. So this is what the data is showing. It's showing that only 5% of girls in South Africa were married off below the age of 18. Now, the question with the data politics here would be, if we look at this data, which regions is this happening? And you will notice that it's mostly in the rural areas. In the urban centers, because of the application of the statutory law, of the civil law, you find that children are not being married off. But when you go to the rural areas, you find that majority of this 5% is actually in the rural areas, and it will be a huge number because that's where it's concentrated in. And so that's why these indicators are interlinked, and you can use such a relationship like the one I've given to just have a debate and a discussion. So, well, this shows 5%, fine, we're doing well, but where are these 5%? And you find that this 5% are actually in the rural. So if I were to do a heat map for South Africa, you'd find that it might be green along the city centers and the big cities, and probably a lot of red when I take it to the rural areas, and where this customary law is still being allowed. All right. And then there are countries that are so much in red, like Malawi, that are at 46%, Mozambique almost at 50%. I know that there's been a slight reduction in the last DHS, so we'll look at your recent numbers. You can give us the official one there. And Zambia there at 39% as of 2023. Right. Any comments on these numbers? Sikelelo, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I was just wondering, can you not also add the data source for each one of these indicators? Because I think that would also help. I was just looking at the South Africa one again, and I didn't see that. But whereas in the SADC scorecard, when we do the SRHR indicators, you'd find that we also have the data source, because then that would also help us in terms of identifying what has been utilized. Thanks.
Thank you. It's a good point. In fact, we can note that, Kudzai, because you can see here when you click on the data, it hovers and brings some statistics in front of you. It tells you when the baseline was, the country, and the recent year, the country group, and the country name. We can also use data. We can include data source. Remember that in our framework, we already have this data source already mapped out. So if you remember the presentation I did earlier, where I showed you the framework, and here we actually do have the data sources here in terms of where this data is coming from. It's an SDG indicator, so it's coming from your SDGs, and it's explained here. So yeah, so that should be able to provide that. There's no harm in us adding it to the data source as you have said. All right, thank you. Good suggestion there. Any other comments? All right. If there are no comments, Kudzai, that was prevention, right? That was protection. Yeah. The other one, which I think we might be wanting to emphasize, is this one on proportion of girls who have access to youth reproductive. So SRHR. So again, another indicator where we are faring quite poorly. You can see there a few countries are in green in terms of access. So reflective of our social norms and also our politics around access. Only Mauritius, Seychelles, and South Africa are above 70% in terms of access. The rest are below 70%, and we even have some that are below 45%, which is sort of the minimal target there. So we will also include that in the when you move around, providing that statistic. All right, let me just show you a few prevention ones, and then we can then begin to conclude the meeting. So Putzai, over to you to just explain a few on prevention here, because we've now got baseline coming in and things like that. You want to explain a few things here, Putzai, over to you.
All right, thank you, Bevis. Yeah, so on prevention, you realize that there are aspects where we felt we have to measure some progress, especially in terms of like the issue of household income increases for economic empowerment. That's why we had the baseline in the current year. But again, as you will see on the color coding, there are some countries where we did not find any data. So like, for example, for Angola, there was no data. For Botswana, there was no data. So these reds are not necessarily that there's not been any increase, but for some of the reds, it's mainly an issue of having no data in place. So it will be important that when you do the validation exercises, please avail that particular data so that you can put and update data with the correct color coding based on the data that you can give us for the baseline the current years. Then we have countries like Eswatini. We managed to find data, and we could see that there's been progression from the baseline years to the current years. But again, like Bevis insisted, that please do give us the 20-25 years at least. They will be having like a recent value, which we can use now to determine if there's been any increase and improvement or not. Then also we have the EMBA. The EMBA, it would mean that, yes, of course, progression has been there, but it's still a bit limited as to what is expected from the particular indicator definitions of SDG 5.1.3. So also, again, please do give us a good reflection and also the current updated statistics on that. But let me emphasize that, please, those ones which are in red, please don't look down upon yourselves as member states. It's mainly because we did not find any data on that. So it will be important that you give us both the baseline values and the current values. I think for this one, yeah, Bevis, yeah, maybe if you have anything to add.
No, you've hit it right on top. And I think so whenever you see that indicator 5.1.3, it would just be useful for you to go and read the indicator definition on that, so that you understand also why we are color coding the way we are color coding, because these indicators have got targets. So they will say, for example, that the minimum, expectation is that, the change should be at 50%. And so any time that we look at baseline and midline, and if a baseline and current year, if there isn't a 50% change, then we would probably be putting it either amber or red. Or if there's no data, then we leave it red, so that then you are able to help us and furnish us with the data. So please pay attention to the indicator definition, and we will probably in the Hoover include it so that then it also helps people to interpret statistics. Thanks, Putzai. So let me go back to our prevention dashboard. So these are the few things that you can do. You see, you can scroll down there and have all the stats there. So we just did the economic impact. The transition rates are there as well. And then this is the one that brought a lot of discussion, the one I referred to. Let me open it here so that, because I really want people to understand this indicator. Cultural practices. So this indicator is the one we mentioned, reduction in harmful cultural practice contributing to child marriages. And when you look at the way this indicator is formulated, what you will notice is that there are, of course, a couple of countries with no data on it, meaning that despite them signing up to monitoring this indicator, because it's coming from the AU framework, there hasn't been active reporting on this indicator. And then there are countries like Eswatini that are in amber. So think about it this way. If Eswatini listed 19 practices, cultural practices that are contributing to that are contributing to promoting child marriages. So this could be initiation ceremonies, could be maybe a traditional ritual, or they are listed through different cultural or ethnographic studies that were conducted. So these are known cultural practices, and there's a direct relationship between these cultural practices and child marriages. And so what this indicator is tracking is their commitment to transform those cultural practices, neither to abolish them or to improve on them so that they can remove the aspects of that practice and that makes them promote child marriages. So the baseline there is showing that there was, out of those 19, there was only 37, there was only 37% of them that had sort of had some form of transformation. And then as at the current time we're looking at it, there had been a slight reduction from 37 to 25. So while there is a slight reduction, we want this to completely completely remove all these practices, or at least be completely annihilated. So that's really important for us to understand this indicator. And as you validate it, please read the indicator definitions. We will provide all of those in your package as you look at them. Yeah. Another one quickly here. Okay, let's go to Masarwa. Please go ahead.
Yes, so thank you. So this one is confusing for me. I'm just trying to understand what the data sources are. Like how do you collect data for this one? Did you say a country lists the cultural practices that they know of that exists? Or how is it collected? It's a complex one.
Right, that's fine. I see, Dr. Scala, you've opened your screen. Did you want to go for it? I can go for it if you like me to, but if you want to, I welcome you.
No, you can go for it. Thanks.
All right, no problem. All right. So I am going to mess your screen a little bit, but this is what you're going to receive. You will receive the full catalog of the indicators, and you will look at some of these. You will look at some of these indicators, and you will go deeper into the indicator definition so that you are able to completely understand it. All right. So this indicator specifically is a global program indicator. All right. It's measured every 3 to 5 years by country. And then it's measured, so it's changing cultural practices that are identified as contributing factors to child marriages. All right. So the main people that collect this data are UNICEF and child protection ministries in your country. All right. And how they do this particular measurement is usually through qualitative studies, where they do a catalog of the cultural practices in your country, and they list them, and then through different consultation meetings, they identify which ones are driving child marriages. And they'll be able to identify, like I gave an example, initiation ceremony, circumcision ceremony, if at all, and then they'll list all of those. And then the relevant ministries could be Ministry of Gender, or Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, so wherever the custodians of child marriage are sitting, they then agree to say this will be our intervention. So let's assume they identify 10 practices. Okay, so they will then say, you know what, this practice should either be abolished or should be changed. So then a target is then agreed upon and they start to operate. After 3 years, we would do the same, assess, are these practices still there? And then there might be a reported change. So out of the 10 that were identified, we will look at, let's look at the initiation ceremonies. Are they still happening? Are they happening the same way that they used to happen? I'll give you a practical example that changed over the last years. So circumcision, traditional ceremonies, particularly in Zambia, Malawi, and even in Zimbabwe, used to be very, very life-threatening exercises where boys would actually die. There would be high levels of death due to being done unsafe, not doing the correct medical procedures and so on. So that could be one that would be identified as maybe a harmful practice against boys. I'm just giving you an example. But circumcision in itself is a good practice. We know that it takes good benefits. So then the relevant department may say, we want to either transform that practice to become a more healthy practice, which should be done through the health centers. And if it's going to be done through traditional processes, there must be a health practitioner who will administer the exercise and so on. So when we come and do the qualitative assessment of that particular practice, then we see that it has evolved, it has transformed from being harmful to actually being protective and achieve its benefits. Some of them could be complete annihilation of the practice, like genital mutilation is one practice that we have identified that has to completely end across all practices of gender and at least within the SADC region. That is something that has been completely identified and has to end. So the question will be, how many is that practice still being applied in your country? And so they will tick it off and then come up with that statistic. So that's how this one particularly works. But we can discuss it more as you go into your validation exercise, and we can see if this particularly is confusing or we can help you. Let me just show you my screen now, what you will receive as a total package for these indicators. So what you will receive will not be, you will receive of that beautiful PowerPoint I did for you. But what you actually have is an Excel spreadsheet that will have the full indicator. So that indicator I showed you, for example, will be in this Excel spreadsheet on prevention. And it will be here in this document on cultural practices. This indicator. So it's this indicator here on outcome 3. So to tell you where it sits, how often, which country, it will define the indicator, what a numerator is. It will show you who's being interviewed, who's collecting the data, where the data sits. So all the data pieces that you need about that indicator are all in this spreadsheet. But of course, for purposes of presentation, I didn't give you all those parameters. All right. So let me stop sharing there and pause so that we can go into the last part of the presentation in terms of how are you then going to validate. We hope by now you have understood what the dashboard looks like and how to navigate through. Are there any questions at this stage for Kudzai and myself and the team on how you get around the dashboard before I share with you in the last few minutes how you actually do data validation? Thank you, Anna. All clear? Okay, great. So we are left with 25 minutes. I'll take 10 more minutes just to share with you how you validate the data. And then we'll leave a few more minutes in case there are just any other random conversations that we want to have in this case. All right. So let me at this stage take you through the last session. Thank you, Kudzai, so much for the work on the dashboard. And thank you as well for leading us there in terms of the navigating through the dashboard. It's quite intuitive and self-explanatory. All right, so here is the last presentation, presentation number 3. Let me know, just give me yeah, I can see it, it's loaded on the screen. All right. So this session is now preparing you in terms of how are you actually going to do data validation, all right? So to start with, we see all of you here as the part and parcel of the team that will help us validate the data. We will send you obviously these slides, but we expect that in each of your country teams, there is a validation team that is being set up, and that the people that are here from each of your member countries that are here, you are actually the validation team, the ones leading the validation. So each member state has been assigned a technical person from the team to help you lead the process, all right? So these are the names of the people that have been assigned, and they will also reach out to you. So we take it that through your training registration, that registration list we have, and the email addresses that you have provided and the contact details, our lead person will write to you and will tell you, I am the one supporting your validation exercise. And they will convene a separate meeting with you to kickstart the process. Some of you may decide to form WhatsApp groups. Some of you may decide to form Teams groups. However you decide to communicate, your communication modality with your lead person will be agreed upon. This lead person will be reporting to the technical working group as a whole. That's the starting part. This person will also be responsible for ensuring that you have all the resources that you need and all the information that you need and the tools that you need to conduct the validation exercise. All right. Now, how will you validate? We see this as a 4-staged process. All right. So the first thing that you need to do is that you need to look into the indicators that you have been given. All right. So, for example, you look at percentage of children married before age 18, and then you will look at the data sources that have been identified in the indicator matrix. So, you know, the data source is DHS, Ministry of Education Statistics. This helps you identify who the possible custodian of this data is. Our overall aim of this process is to be able to speak to the right stakeholder that has the authority or at least the capacity to give an objective and informed comment on that data. Now, I want to state here clearly that it is not all their opinions that will be accepted. All right. Not all their opinions will be accepted, but at least will be heard. What do I mean? We know that data is political, and should they push back on the data that is in the public domain and want us to use data that maybe only them know, we may push back because we are developing a regional dashboard and not just a country-specific dashboard, and we need our data politics to be right. So what you're looking for is the overall custodian of that data. How do you identify them? Look at the indicator, look at the data source, and then that should be able to tell you that DHS maybe sits with National Statistics Office, All right. EMS information sits with Ministry of Education. And then through that process, you can then identify which stakeholder do you need to engage. All right. So from the indicator to the data source to the possible stakeholder, and then identify who the stakeholder is. So these are the 4 steps for stakeholder identification. I can see a hand from Segwawe. Please go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much for the presentation. As you are presenting, especially the slide, there's a flurry of questions that's coming to mind, and maybe this have been discussed before and I missed it. But I find myself, taking a step backward and saying, wait a minute, who actually owns this project? Because to me, this is a big project in terms of what's being asked by this slide. I'm like, who owns this project? And 2, who's communicating this ask to the country governments? And has communication been done with governments? Are governments aware of this ask that is coming? Do we know already by country which ministries are responsible? So those are the questions that are coming to mind for me to be able to understand why I fit in with this project.
Thank you so much for your question. I will attempt to give you a few reflections, but by all means, members who are here, please feel free to comment on this. To start with, this entire process has been in full consultation of your different government relevant departments. So remember, we started this process with the members of parliament themselves and representatives from the traditional fraternity, including the indicators themselves. This process has gone through different exposure opportunities to different government authorities, including at the last ESCO, where we had speakers of National Assembly, and they were also exposed to this particular data and the entire project. So it is owned, of course, first of all, and coordinated by SADC Parliamentary Forum. But may I qualify by saying that your members of parliament that came through when this process started are fully aware, and they'll be very excited to support you in this process. And you will see when I look at how
you are cutting for me. I don't know if it's just for me or for everyone else.
It's for all of us.
Yeah, you're cut. While he prepares to come back, colleagues from other countries, am I the only one with the questions I just asked?
Yes, Mosarwa, this is Anna from Angola. So in the case of Angola, the procedure that our colleague was sharing was the one used here. So there was an engagement of parliamentarians and several sessions were conducted. In our case, the process is being led by UNICEF together with UNFPA and WHO.
Oh, thanks a lot, Anna. That's very helpful. I'll find out. I'll have to establish here because I'm failing you, just a month old with this project of SADC PF. So maybe there has been some work that was done before my time. I just need to know who to then talk to from here. That's helpful. Thank you.
And apologies, I lost connectivity there suddenly. I'm back, but thank you, whoever contributed. And then just to also emphasize that in each of the member states, we've got one of the partner organizations that is also leading. So where you see the people that have been designated, as I showed you there, it also means that that particular organization has presence in that country, or at least is speaking to somebody, and they will help you drive the conversation. But Dr. Scully, I see your hand. Please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Bevis. I just wanted to respond to Memo Sarwa. Just highlight a few people or members of parliament who were actually available when this was presented to members of parliament in the last SADC assembly, joint committee sitting instead of assembly. I think the person who was available there was also the Honorable Shalishando. I think you know him, and the Speaker of Botswana Parliament also knows. And then I think the Minister of Youth also knows, and then other members of Parliament who are seconded to SADC or parliamentary forum. So you might actually have to check with them, and then probably they will then tell you what was presented then. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sekale, for that. So I'm taking Steady as well. Please comment, and then we can show you the last slide, then we can take further comments. Steady, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I just also wanted to express the same concerns raised about how do we get engaged in the process. I'm trying to also, just try to figure out who was there, who was leading in the Zimbabwean case, who were our focal persons, any other agencies, so that we really engage and take the work forward. So I'm a little bit also in the same situation as Masara when she mentioned that, she was really trying to figure out how far has actually taken place at country level. Thank you.
Great. So what we will also do is that your focal person will also tell you, because all your member states have been represented at different levels of this exercise. And so you definitely will not be starting from zero. You definitely have champions in your member states who have engaged with this process and are fully aware, and they are actually expectant of this process to move forward. So I'm looking forward to those one-on-ones that you're going to have with your key person. I just want to show you quickly a slide of all the people that were there at just a very, very inception process of this exercise, just so you can see their names, and then you appreciate that there's been a lot of engagement over time. But then I can map out the process for you. Just give me one moment. Thank you. Yeah. So meanwhile, before I show the different slides, Yes, great. All right. So so let me show you a slide. You might identify some names on this slide that may be in your country office, your member state. So this, for example, is a slide from 2024 of the people that were there when we were agreeing on the indicators. So you can see we have a couple of honorables, from the different member states, as you can see there. So these were the people that were deciding which indicator are we measuring. So it's been a very participatory process to get to this stage. And so all this data will be made available to you when you are beginning to pick who are your entry points, where do you start from, All right, great. Okay, so let me show you, let me further finish in terms of how you will do the validation, and then we can take some further discussions in the last minute or so that we have. All right, so the first process, as I mentioned, is really your stakeholder identification, which is these 4 steps. The second aspect that you will be looking at here, how you will engage the stakeholders. So we have proposed about 5 ways which you can engage. So depending on the stakeholder, so your contact person from the technical working group and the team, the cohort team that will agree to be part of this process. So it could be the SADC researcher, could be a partner from UNFPA, or all of you that are here from that member state. You agree and you say, look, these are our 10 stakeholders we need to engage. Some of them you need to engage with them one-on-one, and you say, you know what, maybe the Minister of Education, we have to go and make a presentation of the dashboard to them. Okay. So you might agree to do that. Or maybe your member of parliament that attended, you need to engage them individually. Okay. You can also decide to engage them in groups. You can say, you know what, maybe let's call for a cohort group of the MP, the minister, the Central Statistic Officer. Let's put them together in a focus group discussion and hold them as a government. And then CSOs, maybe we can hold them at our maybe monthly CSO meeting. So you can decide to integrate and maybe present the dashboard at a forum where everybody would be. So whichever way, but you can decide to group them as cohorts. Maybe you may say, no, actually, to make it easy, let's just go for a multi-stakeholder meeting where we bring different stakeholders and hold the whole meeting together. Okay? So that could be also one other way. There will also be people that you might just need to engage online. Maybe they are not accessible in one place. Maybe young people, you can do a focus group discussion online, digital and something like that. Your CSOs, you might go like that. So whatever you do, you can use either of these strategies depending on the best strategy you think that will work. All right. Now, in each of these member countries, as mentioned, we are going to identify a particular host. So there could be a CSO in some of the member states. UNFPA has offered to host us there and to be the host of this particular validation. But in some member states, it's maybe Plan International, it's Girls Not Brides, it's HIVOS, and some of them it might be the SADC peer. All this will be decided in the first meeting that you're going to hold with your focal point person. And that host, there might be budget implications in terms of if you're going to bring people together, what will it cost? If you're going to just visit people, will each organization just meet their transport costs? We don't envisage this to be a very resource-intensive process, but there will be some cost to it, and that can be discussed with your focal point person from the technical working. All right. And then if you need to raise any resources, again, the technical person will come back to us and say, you know what, actually in Mauritius, we need a big mouth stakeholder workshop and we need $1,000. Is there a way we can raise $1,000 to support Mauritius to do the validation? And then we can discuss all that. But as I've mentioned, the key is the focal point person and having a team within the member state that can work with us. All right. It's important that as you do the validation, you seek the consent to gather the feedback from the people that are giving you information and to be able to take their name, their position, and their comment and the day which you obtain their feedback. Because for us, that becomes important, that we are not giving our data out there that at least the member state was not given a chance to be consulted. Now, like I've said, we're not saying we're going to adopt every data that will come through from the validation. We will also have our data politics, but we will take note that the following people were consulted. So please take name, position, feedback, and date. Ask for consent to get these personal details because we need to have them. You will need to submit the feedback that you would have collected during the validation to the focal point person so that then it can inform us to improve the data on Tableau. All right. How will this be collected? This is what we'll be doing. So you receive, the focal point person will share a form with the team, and that form will have the indicator, for example, the data of the indicator, the year of that data, and they'll simply be asking the question, is this the data? Do you accept? Is this the data that represents Madagascar? Is this a data that represents Zambia on this statistic? If they say no, they have to explain what the reason is. And if they are proposing a different data source, they must tell us what the data source is. So you will receive a form such as this, and you will be completing it by indicator, by thematic area. Yeah. And so that is what the validation process involve. Now, you might, like I'm saying, the strategies will be different. Some of you may decide to take it at individual level or at sectoral level, whichever way you take it. This needs to be agreed together, and maybe not all indicators will be validated the same way. Some may be validated differently. All right. Now, let me make this disclaimer. Our data is about 75% accurate. There's only a 25% chance that the data is not accurate. And so we're not expecting a lot of changes to the data. But we do envisage that there will be changes, and we do envisage that there'll be improvements to the data. So just to take the weight off to ensure that we see this as a data acceptance process more than actually a data validation. Allow me to stop there. Maybe actually let me show you the next steps so that when we stop, in case there are any comments, we can take them. So the next steps at this stage is that we expect that the data sources will be accepted and the data will be accepted through this validation. And then to get us ready to launch the dashboard officially in July at the Seychelles meeting assembly that's happening. So July is our target. And so we have between now and at least at the end of June to be able to get all this feedback. We're actually hoping that we can get most of it in the month of May. And some of you may need to cross over into June, but most of us, we should get this done. But the absolute deadline is by the time we're getting to Seychelles, all the data should have been validated. And we envisage that from there, then we can now start to build the capacity of users such as, the MPs and the traditional leaders, the young people now to use this dashboard in a similar way that we have showed you. And then, of course, we'll be doing, we'll be promoting how this data can be used in advocacy. We want to see it being used in Parliament, in the different sectors. We will annually be updating this data. So annually, we'll be stopping to check, is the data still the same? Should it be improved? And then we'll be reviewing and improving the dashboard as it goes. So this is what we see as the next steps. Thank you so much. I know we're exactly at 1 p.m. and this is the time that I had asked to provide. Apologies that we've not given much time for question and answer at the end. But I am willing to stay over for a couple more minutes in case people have any urgent questions. We are repeating this session on Thursday. So should you have burning questions that you still want to ask, feel free to come and join the session on Thursday. You can join part of the meeting or the entire meeting if you so wish. But we'll end here for today. And let me just thank everybody that has made the time to come. We really appreciate you. We will be in touch. You will hear from your focal point person. They'll send you an email, and they will begin the process of engagement so that you can start the validation exercise. Thank you so much for your time and for listening to me. And thank you for the interpreters. Thank you for SADC PF. Thank you for all the partners that have helped to bring all this beautiful work together. We certainly have had so many hands to reach this far. And thank you to SG for her leadership, for stewarding us to this level. I'll stop right here. Let me just check, Dr. Sikale, if there are any protocols that I need to observe in concluding this process. Over to you, sir, for any protocols or any housekeeping matters.
No, thanks, Bevis. There are no any protocols or housekeeping. The only thing is that the Thursday, same time, the meeting will still be run in both Portuguese and French. So those who are available, they can come in and join in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor. All right, so at this stage, if there are no further comments, I will end the meeting here. And I'll remain for 5-10 minutes in case somebody who has something burning that they wish to ask or confirm. I'll be willing to answer that. Otherwise, then we will end the meeting and we'll meet on Thursday. Thank you. Otherwise, you can drop off, say goodbye. If you want to give us some feedback, please, you can also send some feedback on the chat. We'll have a look at it. And we didn't provide any formal feedback process. We'll do it the final after the whole workshop. We'll send a small survey just to get feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bevis, and all colleagues for an excellent session. It was very clear. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you so
Thank you very
much.
much, Davis. It was good to hear from you after a long time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bevis and colleagues. You have a lovely day. Bye.
Thank you, Bevis and colleagues. Thank you for the thoughtful session. We enjoyed it and learned a lot. But
Thank you very much. Thank you, Teboho. I'm sure we've noticed that. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.